So today we are going to take a look at the Geralt fighter from the Unmatched games. Now, Geralt is Geralt of Rivia from the Witcher series. That would be from the video games, the books, and there is a television series, although this is more going to be based off of the games and the books. I'll point out myself that I am not super familiar with Witcher. I mainly know it from the TV series, which has a number of places where it diverges from the other Witcher material. But Geralt is the Witcher. He goes out and fights demons and all the evil, nasty things. And if people are bad, well, he will fight the people too if he has to. He's really good with his swords. He's got a lot of good stamina and healing and can fight really well in battles, and he has access to a little bit of magical ability. So we'll take a look at his character card, Geralt of Rivia. He is a melee hero with a health of 16 and a move of 2. His sidekick is Dandelion, who is this guy, who is a bard, a very annoying bard. If you only know the TV show, you're going to be like, hey, isn't this guy's name Yasker? And it's basically the same character. They just took a name from like one of the other languages that this had been published in and used that instead of Dandelion, but it is the same character. Dandelion is ranged because annoying music can go anywhere. So Geralt's special ability is always prepared. I was not aware that Geralt was a Boy Scout. At the start of the game, choose your gear. Select a potion, armor, and sword, and shuffle 2 copies of each into your deck. If you were to count the cards that come with Geralt's deck when you open it up, you will see that he has 36 cards, and that is because he has some cards that you choose which ones you're going to put in there. This is going to be kind of like a video game where you're picking the setup that you will have, and you get to decide what you're going to be bringing into battle and kind of pick that against your opponent. And the nice thing on this is that you do this at the beginning of the game. This has to happen at a point before you start shuffling your deck. So this would be at the same point that like Buffy would do her sidekick choice, because that has you bring different cards into the deck. So we're going to take a look at his gear cards to start with here. And he's basically going to have 2 copies of each of these. And there's going to be 2 options for attack, defense, and schemes. We'll start off with gear. Sword of Silver. This is an attack of 4. You will see all of the gear cards have a boost of 3. Immediately, if your opponent's card has a printed value of 4 or more, ignore its value. The other attack gear would be Sword of Steel, which is an attack of 4. Gain 1 action. If the opposing fighter has 8 or more health, gain 2 actions instead. So get to decide which you want to do here. Do you want to be gaining actions, or do you want to ignore high value blocks? And it depends on who you're playing against. You know, someone like Bigfoot or something, being able to throw out those ignores against 4s when most of his defense cards would be 4s, that would be really good. The next gear will be his defense cards. This will be Wolf Medallion. This is a defense of 3. Immediately cancel all effects on your opponent's card. During combat, if the opposing fighter is not adjacent to Geralt, ignore the value of your opponent's card. Then we have Armor of the Forgotten Wolf, a defense of 2. During combat, add +1 to this card's value for each fighter adjacent to Geralt. After combat, end the turn. So you can have just a straight up cancel that can also ignore the value if they're not adjacent. So this is really good against like ranged fighters. But if you're not going up against range, you can have this one, which will add to it for each adjacent fighter. If it was just the one, that would end up making this a 3. If they have a bunch of them around you, this could go up quite a bit. This would be good against something like raptors who want to surround you and want to have a bunch of them adjacent. It's also worth pointing out that this is each fighter adjacent. So if you have like your sidekick adjacent, this will end up adding 1 to it and could make it a 4 just for having the opposing fighter and having Dandelion adjacent. And it ends the turn after combat, which can also be really good in certain matchups. And going into these schemes, and we'll see that these schemes also have the ongoing effect, which is a new mechanic that was introduced in this set. The gear will be Tawny Owl, draw 2 cards, gain 1 action. The ongoing effect, this card would be set out in front of you and does not go to your discard pile until the text on here tells you to. If an effect would cause you to discard a card from your hand, you may choose to ignore it. Discard this card at the end of your turn if you didn't attack. So you get to keep this in your hand as long as you are attacking on your turn, and it will stop them from being able to discard a card from your hand. It also has the immediate effect, which could be good. And we have Blizzard, which is draw a card, move Geralt up to 3 spaces. The ongoing effect, opponents can't gain actions, and you discard this card at the end of your turn if you didn't attack. So for both of these, you get some good effects there, and it will be for different things there, either someone pulling things out of your hand or someone gaining actions. You get to decide which of those would be better for you to go up against. The immediate effect, the moving 3 spaces on this one lets you play this once, move 3 spaces to get to someone, and then be able to attack them. This one gives you the 2 card draw and gains the action, which lets you be able to go in there so that at least on the turn that you play it, that you are able to still get an attack in. So the way the gear would work is you will pick one of each of these and put both copies of it in there. You don't get to mix and put like 1 Blizzard and 1 Tawny Owl in there. You pick one or the other of those. So 1 scheme to put both copies of, 1 defense to put both copies of, and 1 attack to put both copies of. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the rest of Geralt's deck here and get into the regular cards that you will have no matter what setup you are doing. Witcher Senses. This is going to be Geralt's other scheme that he has. Search your deck or discard pile for a gear card and add it to your hand. If you took it from your deck, shuffle this card back into your deck. Okay, this is what a lot of people wanted Lady of the Lake to be. That it lets you look either in your discard pile or your deck and pull that card out. But in this case, if you pull it from the deck, this card goes back in so that you can grab it from the discard pile later. You got 2 copies of this. This lets you just bring up a gear card pretty much as soon as you need it. You're able to pull it out of your discard pile and recur it. You could also, if you needed to get it right away, you could do this, get it out of the deck, and still have this card go back into your deck so that you can reuse that again. You've got 2 of these, and if things shuffle right, you could end up being able to recur a number of different gear cards out of there, or not necessarily recur them. You can really only recur 2, but you can bring up several of them out of your deck right away. So this can be a very strong card. Depending on the order that things come out, it can really end up being quite strong. Igni, this is an attack of 0. 0? 0. After combat, deal 2 damage to the opposing fighter and 1 damage to each other fighter adjacent to Geralt. So you just smack the opposing fighter with 2, everyone else takes 1. Do note on here that this is each other fighter, not each other opposing fighter. So if that guy is hanging around a little too close through the middle of this, he is gonna take a hit. Damn, you're ugly. This is a quote that he says a lot. This also gets to be the first Unmatched card with a profanity, although it is a mild one. This is just a versatile 5 with a boost of 4. A versatile 5 is like, that's good. I mean, it's a 5. That's really strong. We don't have a whole lot of versatile 5s. They're starting to show up more now. Disciplined Duelist. This is a versatile 4. This has different effects depending on the printed value of your opponent's card. If it's a 2, you can draw a card. If it's a 3, you deal 1 damage to the opposing fighter. If it's a 4, your opponent discards a card. If it is a 1 or a 0 or a 5 or anything higher, you don't get an effect on it. Rend, a versatile of 3. During combat, you may boost this card. Now, we've seen that Geralt has some pretty high boost values. A 3 that you can boost on an attack it's not bad. That's pretty good. A 3 that you can boost on defense is, well, that's a lot better there. The one thing this can fall victim to is if you are being attacked and they use a card that has some sort of decision that the attacker has to make, something where they either have to something where they can boost it or discard to boost it, or play some sort of hellfire or rage to bring it up. You have to decide if you're going to boost before they decide what they will be doing. A little bit of a trouble there, that you may end up boosting and then them just deciding not to spend their thing to bring that up. You could be on the other side of it if you're using this as an attack, that you get to decide after they make all of their decisions what you are going to do. So it's one of the cases where the defender resolving first actually is not an advantage. Earden, or I'm going to assume that this is pronounced Earden, and the Y just makes the E sound. Versatile of 2. Immediately, the opposing fighter cannot leave their space this turn. After combat, move Geralt up to 2 spaces. So I can see a couple of things that this could be used for. It's either to freeze them in space so Geralt can run away, or it is to freeze them in space so Geralt can approach them. Riposte. This is also a versatile of 2. After combat, choose 1. Deal 1 damage to an adjacent fighter. Geralt swaps spaces with an adjacent fighter. So you get to do one or the other there. There's no way to be able to do both of these effects. It is the damage or the swap. This is one that, just based off of this name and the number of fighters that we get that have swords, I definitely think we're going to see this show up as a common card on somebody one day. That's too too useful of a name there. Now we're getting into Dandelion's cards. We have Annoying Tune, which is a versatile of 3. After combat, move the opposing fighter up to 4 spaces. That's right, it's just his music is so bad that they just have to run away 4 spaces and get out of there. Plot twist. After combat, look at your opponent's hand and choose 1 card for them to discard. Draw 1 card. So this gives you hand knowledge, lets you look at it. That can play well for a number of other cards that Geralt has in his deck to be able to get some hand knowledge. Looking at the hand and pulling a card out is always a very strong effect. And then you draw a card at the end of it. Okay, so we have a number of unusual things about Geralt's deck. One thing that you probably noticed here is that there are no innies. So what that means is that the only cards that Dandelion can play are going to be his 6 cards that he has here. So that'll be 1/5 of the deck is all that he has access to. So there aren't any innies that you can use to help keep him around. He's pretty much just got to use what he has here. It also means you're not going to get into that decision on the innies where you have to decide if it's something that you're willing to use on your sidekick or want to save for the hero. Everything else has to be used by Geralt. So we can see that Geralt has a number of different ways that you will be able to play him. You can do the setup differently depending on how you want to set up at the start of the game, and that's really going to be the big thing for him, is that being able to use Witcher senses to get the gear that you want. You want those Witcher senses to probably show up fairly early, so then you can decide which of these gears that you want to grab. So you're picking which gear goes in there, and then hopefully at key points in the game being able to decide which individual one of those that you put in there you want to go ahead and grab, and you get to recur a couple of them. And recursion is always great. Dandelion has some great effects, but he is, of course, going to be very limited on what he can play. I mean, most sidekicks that have cards in there, tend to have a large number of enemies that they can play. He's got just the 6 cards, and you're not going to have access to all of them all the time, so I could see him disappearing before you're able to really get into any of these effects on here. The discard effect being a really good one if you're able to pull that out. But it doesn't make a lot of sense for Dandelion to be able to do a whole lot. He is just a bard and not really a fighter on there. Geralt is the one who is going to be doing everything, and I think they've got a very interesting deck for Geralt. So, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and a like. You can go down into the comments section and let me know what you think down there. And you can also subscribe to my channel to make sure you catch everything that I post so you don't miss anything. This is Jeremy with Point Extra G, and we'll see you around next time.